Okay, you've seen this. I mean, who hasn't seen this? It's everywhere, and it's resulted in a lot of hatred. And I want to explain why this event isn't what it seems. I don't have footage from this day. I didn't take any video other than that one, but I've collected enough because I've lived here a long time and I care about how people get around. So why was I so crazy? It was not the first, but the fifth vehicle that I had encountered blocking the bike lane in just 5 minutes of riding. There was a car, a truck, and an Amazon Prime van on these 2 blocks. I rode past the train gates, this is from the other direction for effect, and the train was actually going past that day when I was there. This is the only uninterrupted stretch that I had, and because the train was passing, I was able to continue through the light, and it was very nice. It felt just like this lovely sunny day, even though it was raining. And I want to remind people, when we talk about bike lanes, they're not just for bikes. They're for anyone getting around on small, slower wheels. And it's always a better way to get around. When I got to the Bay Wheels van blocking the bike lane, there was no way for me to go around without entering traffic. This guy should have known better, but from the number of complaints you can see here, this is obviously something that Bay Wheels is missing in their training. This is just one of the reasons why I'm still missing jump bikes. When there were just painted lanes, they were blocked a lot more. Blocked bike lanes puts people on bikes in danger, and it means motorists have to be more aware. This was even more frustrating because there was an easy alternative for him. He had an enormous place to pull into right across from where he was parked. That would have enabled him to do what he needed to do without pushing people in the bike lane into traffic. I let him know he shouldn't be in the bike lane and carried on. So I've said if this were a regular ambulance, I wouldn't have bothered. Why was I so mad at the site of San Francisco Fire Department? Well, our fire department has a long history of blocking slow streets, bike lanes, and other traffic calming measures. On New Year's Eve, 2013, 6-year-old Sophia Liu was walking in the crosswalk in the Tenderloin when she was hit and killed by an Uber driver. That pushed the San Francisco Board of Supervisors to declare a goal of reaching Vision Zero, or 0 traffic deaths, within 10 years' time. But the San Francisco Fire Department was the biggest opponent to making our streets safer. While they finally signed on, they continued to put the brakes on nearly everything submitted for their approval. In 2019, when traffic deaths rose to 40, the Board of Supervisors recommitted to doing more, and Mayor Breed said she would make intersections safer. Then the pandemic happened, and they forgot, and we didn't improve like Paris and other cities around the world. Some neighborhoods did get slow streets and outdoor dining spaces, but others were vetoed by the fire department, as were barriers that would exclude or drastically limit motor vehicles. So we saw a lot of conflict and wreckage. This past summer, the death toll rose higher, and supervisors voted to have a hearing within 2 weeks after every death from traffic violence. And the very next week, the fire department was telling the slow streets to remove their community-made signs and planters that made the street lovely and served as traffic calming. It will be a few weeks until the official numbers are released, but I'm pretty sure that we have at least matched the 2019 death toll. So yeah, seeing San Francisco Fire Department, the agency responsible for blocking safer streets, literally blocking a bike lane, was a bit too much. Why not go around or right over those things? Well, so those tiny white armadillos are there for the benefit of the motorcycle parking. that no one uses since the pandemic. Most other cities will use larger, better treatments like this, which make it more difficult for vehicles to use the bike lane and easier for bikes to exit if they need to. Unfortunately, the materials that San Francisco chose and the way they installed them have sent people to the hospital riding over them in dry weather. I've hit them accidentally since they look so much like paint and nearly wrecked. No sane San Francisco biker would tackle them in wet weather, which means you've got to get off your bike. And if this were an active emergency, I would do that in a heartbeat and send good vibes to whomever needed help. But this was not an emergency. By the way, do you get out of your car and push it around obstacles? How do you know it wasn't an emergency? Well, I've lived here for over 20 years. There are no residential buildings within 500 feet of where the ambulance was parked. The surrounding offices are super quiet since the pandemic, and even more so since this was the week between Christmas and New Year's. Also, remember that it was a cold and rainy day. So there just weren't a lot of people on the street at all. Mainly, it was just cars. Note, there's no door on the side of the building. The closest doorway was 54 feet away, across 3 lanes of traffic and parking on the other side of the street. The next closest doorway was at Room and Board, 83 feet away, and that has an entire parking lot. The chances that there had been an emergency at 11:30 a.m. at this location causing them to park in the bike lane is beyond slim. And if you're simply finishing up paperwork, as the fire department has reported, that should be done somewhere that is not a bike lane. If a city vehicle is in a travel lane, they should have emergency lights on. This gives everyone on the road a heads up to stay clear. Watch out. Go slow. If it's no longer an emergency, move somewhere where you won't endanger someone, like this driver did. And blocking a car travel lane is always an option. On this street, there is 54 feet of roadway that's not the bike lane. The driver could have parked in a travel lane, and it still would leave 2 travel lanes and 2 lanes for parking. I cannot kill a motorist, but they sure can kill me, as so many online commenters have been quick to point out. On December 29th, I posted this video and all hell broke loose. I have since filed a public records request to understand what this driver had been through prior to deciding to park in the bike lane. I will gladly update once this request is released. I am thankful for our first responders. They have difficult jobs, no question. But if their job is to help people, they should also be careful not to endanger people. In closing, people should be able to travel safely without a motor vehicle. They are sometimes convenient, but they make us sick. They injure and kill us. They ruin our cities and are making our planet uninhabitable. We must be more thoughtful about how we move goods and provide safe passage for people, and stop building the world for cars. This starts with our cities getting seriously creative about how they function and ensuring that the people that work for us actually care. Thank you for taking the time to watch this. I hope that this unfortunate incident can bring about some positive change. These were just some of the incidents in the past few years where drivers have injured and killed people on bikes in San Francisco. Carry that around and you'd be angry too.